Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Viewpoint, the Brian Human podcast. And a special welcome to all my new listeners. Episode number 10. That's where we're at now. Can you believe it? We've been doing this now for 10 weeks. It seems only like yesterday we started this podcast, but I guess it's true what they say. Time flies when you're having fun. And it's been a very interesting week. But before we get to it, remember that how this podcast is available on all the major podcast platforms. So continue to download each episode and give it a listen if you've missed any episode. And also remember to like and subscribe. That way you'll be notified immediately when a new podcast is available. So, like I said, it's been a very interesting week and we're going to get to it. We're going to get to all the major points that's been making it wrongs and we're going to analyze each one of them and see how they are going to affect you. And I'm going to give you my viewpoint on this podcast because that's what it's all about. Viewpoint, the Brian Human podcast. So, what are we going to talk about first? Well, how about the National Gas Company? I mean, I've seen recently, I don't know if you all have seen this, but the National Gas Company has released its year end, or should I say the National Gas Company has finally released its year end in 2019 financial statements. And in those financial statements, folks, it's not looking pretty. What NGC is basically saying that in 2019 they have a profit margin of $390 million. Now, you may think that $390 million is a lot of money, but compare that figure to 2018 year-end and financial statements, in which they had $2.4 billion in profits. Now, why is all of this important? All these figures are basically low. Whether it be 2.4 billion, 396 billion, it's low. Because national gas companies where the government gets a significant chunk of their revenue for budgeting. If they don't get, a good earning from this company, then you can tell that how when you see budgeting come in September, later in September, you're gonna see it's gonna be very, very, very difficult times ahead. And I can tell you why National Gas Company has been having such a low revenue. Do you remember when Minister Stuart Young and Prime Minister Rowley went to England on their own capacity and they went to renegotiate with upstream producers gas prices with Shell and BP? Well, those negotiations got a gas price from those upstream companies that is apparently significantly high. And those gas prices now, obviously, NGC, when they're going to sell to the downstream companies, they have to sell above the prices that they are paying from BP and Shell. Those gas prices are way too high. The plants in Port Neches, they are basically rebelling and they're saying that they can't afford to pay those prices because if they pay those prices, then they won't be making a profit. And they end this to make a profit. Nobody's in this in Port Neches to, just to provide jobs and break even. That's not what they're in this for. They're in this to make a profit to return to the shareholders. That's what it's all about. The private sector is all about getting the profit margin back to the shareholders because shareholders want to see a return on their investments. And when you examine what's going on in Port Neches, I've seen that how Methanex, for example, Methanex has two plants, Titan and Atlas. Methanex has shut down Titan plant. Titan is a huge earner of revenue for the government. With Titan gone, they have lost a huge chunk. Nutrien, and I find Nutrien to be one of the most outspoken plants in the Port Neches sector. That is the CEO, of course, because they are basically saying they have shut down number one and number two plants, and they have cited reasons being the high gas prices. And that CEO has basically said it out. He would rather mothball the plants than to run it at a loss. If that is not in on itself a warning to the National Gas Company, to the government, and the Minister of Energy, that the gas prices are way too high, and they risk losing Nutrien as an investment in Trinidad, I don't know what else is. Proman, for example, they have shut down methanol one and a melamine plant, and they also are saying that how, they are looking at how the economy is running, and then they're going to determine what's going to happen in the rest of plants. Metal, well, we all know Metal left when all this protest was taking place early on, and they just decided to pack up shop for whatever reason, whether it be for the protesting, whether it be because they wouldn't get government assistance, or whether it be with a strategic decision taken at the headquarters, and they just decided, we can make the money elsewhere. But in terms of the National Gas Company and those plants and Port Neches, that's where government gets a significant amount of money. And not just funding, they get foreign currency from those plants as well. And when those plants stop operating, and they start operating at a lower capacity, government, you can tell why government has a lower US dollar. This combined with the fact that oil prices are not where they should be in terms of our liking. And that's why government has low revenue in terms of the US currency. That's why when you go to the bank and you try to get US currency from your bank account, the bank tell you to make a request and you to come back when they have it. And all of this is taking place all because the local commercial banks don't have the US currency. Now you can't really blame the local commercial banks in terms of not having the foreign currency because they get their foreign currency supply from central bank where they deposit their funds. And if central bank is not selling them foreign currency to supply their demand, then obviously commercial banks is not going to have foreign currency to give to you when you go to buy your foreign currency. So it's a rippling effect and it's all coming to a head at some point in time. And some economists believe now the best way to deal with this entire high demand for foreign currency is to devalue the dollar. That is going to be a horrible idea and that is going to backfire tremendously, not just for the local manufacturing sector, but for the normal man on the street. It may very well tamper demand in terms of, because obviously it's become more expensive to buy foreign currency, and therefore, if you can't afford it, you can't demand it. But then what happens to plant and equipment and raw materials that local manufacturers needs to produce? They're going to have to pay the higher price one way or the other. But then that price is then transferred to the consumer on the ground. So you're going to have to pay the higher price. So I don't think devaluation is a good idea at this point in time. What I think needs to be done, you see, you look at the foreign currency on two sides, on the supply side and the demand side. When you attempt to devalue the currency, you're attempting to tamper demand and make demand lower by making the price higher. I think the best approach is to find ways to increase the supply of foreign currency to the market. Now, there are numerous ways you can do it, and they need to figure out which way they're going to do best to increase the supply side to ensure there's a reinvestment in the economy, international companies coming in and bringing their foreign currency. But you have to find a way. You just can't sit idly by and say COVID-19, the whole entire economy is down in the world and you're just trying to survive. That argument is a BS argument because the world economy is not in decline. Just this week, the United States stock market closed at 29,000. The Dow closed at 29,000. So the world economy is not done. It's not going down. America in this period alone, in their last unemployment report, they added 1.3 million jobs. They talk about the entire economy in a downturn and we're just trying to ride it out and set up. No. The reason why America economy is bouncing back is because they're putting policies in place to ensure that they survive and ensure that they thrive. COVID-19 is always going to be with us. We have to find ways to survive with COVID-19, to continue to stimulate the economy, to continue to grow the economy. Otherwise, we're going to be left behind. And as we're on the whole point about investment and all that, a lot of folks out there think that the best way to get higher returns for their hard-working funds is to invest in some of these pyramid schemes going on. But first of all, my heart goes out to all of those people who have lost money in some pyramid scheme that's recently going around. Because I know people work hard for the money and they're just trying to get a higher return as fast as they possibly can because everyone has bills to pay. But it's wrong what these people do with these pyramid schemes, and it's entirely heartbroken to see these people suffering like that. And I don't appreciate these pyramid schemes. I mean, how do you go out there and outsmart these hardworking people of their money and then sleep at night comfortably knowing fully well that you've just taken probably the last savings amount of someone's bank account, It's just crazy. There needs to be a more education drive to inform people to identify these schemes. But the Security and Exchange Commission in Trinidad and Tobago is lacking not just in intelligence, but in going forth and getting these things done because everybody's more comfortable sitting in their office and just hoping that everything go hunky-dory and smooth. No one is proactive in these offices. But that's just how it is in Trinidad and Tobago. Meanwhile, in the United States, Donald Trump is killing it. I mean, this guy is breaking records after records. Just this week, he signed this economic normalization agreement between Serbia and Kosovo. As you all know, Serbia and Kosovo was warring for 2 decades ago, and now with this economic normalization agreement, they are now they do this agreement to create for job creation, industrial development, as a solution to political disputes because they understand, oh sorry, Trump understands that he can't solve the political disputes immediately. He can't heal all those wounds from 2 decades of war. But what he can try and do is to get them to a point whereby they have an economic normalization whereby they recognize, professional recognition of their certificates and even to the point where they can agree on searching for missing people that were lost during the war to return those bodies home. And I think during such a time period of economic normalization between those two countries, maybe political wounds become less hurtful and those things can be healed. It's a good method, it's a good way of moving forward and of getting things done. And not just staying idly by. Ask yourself this: what has your government done from since the inception of when they decided to take COVID-19 seriously? And I don't mean in March, because COVID-19 was coming about since before March. We just didn't take it seriously in Trinidad and Tobago. We preferred to fatten Carnival in February, and whatever happened, happened. We're now feeling the effects of that now. But what has the government of Trinidad and Tobago done to ensure that there's some sort of, to ensure the economy keeps clicking over, to ensure that jobs keep coming back? I mean, COVID 19 is having a tremendous effect on the local economy. But that doesn't mean at all we can just sit idly by and blame COVID 19. We have to find methods to create jobs because at the end of the day, there are a lot of young people, qualified young people, who need to find work. They just can't be staying home. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that how we can just sit idly by and wait for this to come out, to just to disappear. It's not going to disappear. But thank God, during a press conference this week, Donald Trump said that our vaccine is close by. I mean, I'm not taking no Chinese vaccine and I'm not taking no Russian vaccine. I'm waiting for the American vaccine. So I don't know what contacts or what our government is doing with regards to making a contact to ensure that we have access to some vaccine when it comes out. But I'm telling you folks, you don't want no Russian vaccine and you don't want no Chinese vaccine. Wait for the vaccine from America. The one approved by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. But like Trump said, a vaccine is close by. But as I've mentioned before, no one is taking this serious in Trinidad. Everybody else, it's like survival of the fittest. The best in the hood survive. Everybody else, sorry for you, whatever. But that's just the craziness that's been going on. While Donald Trump is hitting the ball out of the park with his economy, his job creation, we nothing. We don't. I don't know what's going on in Trinidad with regards to job creation on our end. So, so it's two different games being played here, and I don't have to tell you, but we are not on the winning end of any of these games. We are eventually going to feel the effects of being losing on these games. I mean, just imagine, as I mentioned before, the Serbia and the Kosovo deal. Serbia is now willing to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Kosovo is now willing to do a mutual recognition of Israel. And this comes on the heels of the August 13 peace deal between the UAE and Israel. All this is taking place in the world, and you're trying to tell me the world economy is declining? That is just the excuse that they are giving us so that we wouldn't ask too many questions and talk about job loss and the economy in a dog tune. And COVID-19 is being used as a whipping boy for everything bad that's happening in Trinidad and Tobago, so that we can just sit idly by and wait. But that sitting idly by and waiting is going to cost us jobs. Young people is going to be frustrated. It's going to increase crime. The rippling effect is going to be crazy. So I hope that we start seeing. It's been 2 weeks now, 2 weeks since this cabinet has been sworn in, and I hope we start seeing policies and procedures to increase job creation. Because that's the most important thing: creating jobs, finding ways to keep moving. But we'll see. Like I said, it's only 2 weeks since the cabinet has been sworn in. Maybe we should give them some more time. but it's a building from the last 5 years because it's the same regime. Let's see what happens. I hope that they start doing something to keep getting things clicking over. Meanwhile, the Pan American Health Organization director from the Department of Communicable Diseases and Health Analysis, Mr. Espinal, he said he is still not happy that Trinidad and Tobago is doing enough with regards to testing. Wow, this guy's brilliant. Because on this podcast, you guys have been hearing me say that the only way to get in front of COVID-19 is by doing testing. And not just simple testing of people who are infected, but by lots of testing. I mean, right now as it stands, there are over 2,200 cases of COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago. And I mean, they keep trying to tell you how, this is what's going on, this has been going on all over the world. But like I said, the only way to get in front of COVID-19 is to start doing testing. Start doing lots of testing. I've seen that we now starting to ramp up testing to some bit, but the testings are more or less in a backlog, and that is not where you want to be. You want to be testing in advance. Testing. What I mean in advance, I mean testing people randomly. Let's allow people just to come in, even if they think they have the symptoms, and just test them. Once you know where the virus is, then you can put procedures and policies in place to deal with it. But you all believe that, they believe that this whole face mask thing is the solution to COVID-19. It's not. The figures, the face mask came way too late, and as ineffective as it is, it's COVID-19 is already established out there, and it's going to be spreading. We have to find ways of dealing with it, and the only way to deal with it is to find out where it is, and to quarantine, and to get those people to take care of themselves, and to boost their immune systems until we can get the vaccine in, or to find ways to import, as I've mentioned before, the treatment for COVID-19 to try and increase your chances of survival if you do have the virus, if you're infected with the virus. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, it's good to know that the PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, has finally recognized, now finally saying something with regards to increasing testing. I don't know about you, but this whole new talk about this whole face masks and um, buying goods and services through these screens. I don't know if that talk about the new normal it's crazy. You can never in your lifetime sanitize the entire area in a hotel or wherever, or sanitize the world for that matter, to make it clean enough for you to get rid of all these viruses or this bacteria or whatever it is. COVID-19 is always going to be here. It's all going to be infected by it. I mean, I recently saw a video talking about how virus and it's present on your cell phone, and how bad it is on your cell phone. So I mean, to get rid of virus to the extent whereby they're making you believe that all these face masks, that's just a public relations stunt to make you believe that you're safe and secure. And it's a public relations stunt that's going to give you the false sense of security, and it's going to make your mind feel that you're doing the right thing by wearing the face mask. But as I've seen, I've played for you with regards to the Minister of Health only last time, you know, it's not just doing one thing, the face mask alone. The face mask is just one thing. The particles of the virus is so small it can still pass through your face mask, unless of course you're using an N95 or something like that. But that is not the solution in itself. It's a combined solution of face masks, combined solution of sanitizing, combined solution of testing. Everything works together. It doesn't work. It doesn't work by itself. There's no one thing that you can do by itself. And I hope that we get to the point whereby we could just stop taking these rubbish talk about this is the new normal. You have to wear this face mask. No, it's not the new normal. That is to make you believe that what they're changing, you should be comfortable and adopt it. It's new normal. New normal doesn't include Gary Griffith bursting the bubble of CPL and finding himself in the down there to watch cricket. No, that's not the new normal. But that's the double standard. That is double standard that takes place in Trinidad, and that's why we are in such a big mess, because everything, there are two rules. And it's not just a double standard in Trinidad, if you watch what's going on internationally, you saw Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker of the United States. She found herself in a hair salon to get her hair done because you know what? The rules don't apply to these people. The rules don't apply to Gary Griffith. It don't apply to Nancy Pelosi as well. They make the rules for you, they implement them, and they ensure that how you follow them, but they don't follow them. And that is the problem with all these rules that they keep making for us. It's not about everyone having the same standard, and that's where there's always going to be problems. I mean, if you live in a society where those above you have a Mary Antoinette type attitude whereby they can do what they want and you have to follow the rules, then you're in a sad way, we're in a sad position, and I don't know, folks. We just have to watch it and see what all plays. Let's have to watch it and see how this thing all plays. But let's end on a good note. I see that the Minister of Finance has finally decided to remove tax on laptops and computers on a whole, and that's a good move. I think that's going to allow, you know, some parents to be able to afford devices for online learning because that's how it's going to be taking place for this new term. So it's a good thing. But in saying it's a good thing, I can't say it without mentioning the fact that there were never taxes on laptop devices and all of these different computers and things. This Minister of Finance introduced taxes. So for him to come now and remove it, he's been, even though I agree with him, he was short-sighted in the first intention by reintroducing taxes on the first place. But I'm still happy that he removed the taxes. Now good sense finally prevailed and now taxes have been removed. So that's all for this week, folks. Stay tuned for episode number 11 next week.